Mar, and we are going to meet the wonderful Courtney Coleman of Cookwell.
Okay. All right. Oh, hello there. This is Courtney Coleman and Jupiter. Okay, so the one pot meal I want to teach people how to make for Thanksgiving as a side dish for vegetarians. It's very, very versatile. Whereas different veggies are seasonal at different times a year, and you can do different ground spices, different types of beans. But by soaking beans as a base for it after you simmer them the next day, they create like this wonderfully flavorful, like liquid medium. You could call it a broth or whatever. But as soon as those beans soften, you're adding your root veggies and your ground spices, letting it simmer another few minutes, and then adding your medium dense veggies like green bean or broccoli, Brussels sprouts or something, and then letting it go a few more minutes after that. And then maybe your leafy greens, if you want to add kales and stuff, and then your leafy herbs and your fats and your unrefined salt, and you have this really flavorful one pot meal that has tons of protein, and the carbs are the root veggies like yam or carrot or even winter squash. And it can be so different according to your tastes. I mean, even granulated garlic, cayenne, and rosemary is a wonderful combination of just three, flavor elements that is spectacular. You can do ghee or coconut oil or olive oil. So I teach people how to make this, and then they can branch out and do their favorite fats or their favorite root veggies and make it versatile any time of year. It can change every time the seasons change and the garden changes and the farmer's market changes of what's seasonal. So it's great for busy people because you can make this. You could probably do it in an Instapot, but then you can put the whole pot in the fridge and eat off of it for a week, and even take jars of it to work with you, and then you don't have to eat out, and you're eating this wonderfully flavorful one pot meal. You could take an avocado with you and a half of a lemon, and it's just a wonderful, easy to reheat. It just streamlines your cooking routine, and your health benefits from it make it so you get excited about making the next one. Like you get, oh, I could put cauliflower in the next one, or what came in my farm box this week, oh, I could use that. And you start thinking about the next one, and it becomes just part of your routine. It's only a couple hours a week, and then you've got wonderful meals. You don't have to go out to a cafe at lunch when you're at work, or because those restaurants and cafes are all using the refined ingredients that bring our health crashing to the floor. So, flax seeds. So these are brown flax full of omega-3 fatty acids. And so I put like a cup at a time in this guy. And then I grind them fresh for him, because when you grind flax seeds, they go rancid or oxidize within about 5 minutes. So I grind these fresh for him when I come out here every other day.
What's the value of flax for the body? You said omega-3. What does that mean?
Yes. So the benefits of flax are, for Jupiter, it's vitamin E, it's omega-3 fatty acids, it's anti-inflammatory, it's anti-cancer, and it's protein. It's a protein source because he's a low sugar guy and can't have a lot of like oats or oat hay or even alfalfa hay. He has to have grass hays. I supplement his minerals, and then good fats. So he gets sunflower seeds and flax seeds. And I grind the flax fresh when I come out here. Yeah. I'm getting a pound of fresh Blue Lake green beans from Mauro Perez and his wife Veronica. Are these Blue Lake?
Yeah.
They are. These are the best. These are awesome. When you get them fresh like this, you know, they picked this morning. They're so crispy and so sweet. And they add the body to the stir fry where you reheat your stir fry or your big pot of bean stew. And through reheating, the green bean really holds its crispness. Veronica.
Oh, okay. One bunch?
Yeah. And one bunch of this. And I'm getting from Veronica and Mauro a big bunch of beautiful dino kale to add minerals and antioxidant, anti-cancer properties to this wonderful black bean stew. Bag too.
Okay.
Oh, look at his cabbage looks really good.
Well, we need it for the recipe.
Okay, let's do a little head of red cabbage. So for this recipe, to add color and antioxidants and all these wonderful fiber and minerals, I'm going to add a small head of red cabbage. And for flavor, I'm going to add a wonderful bunch of leeks. This is Linda and her husband. I forget Linda's name.
This new? I don't remember.
That's the cool thing about farmers market carrots. You get all these great shapes. So I think just one bunch is perfect for our stir fry to add the sweet flavor, because you want to get all 5 flavors. And if yams were seasonal, I would get yams, whatever sweet root. I love how quiet it is right now. This farmer's market is one of my favorites in Morro Bay, with the rock in the background and the ocean over here, Spencer's parking lot, Taco Temple if you're hungry afterwards. It doesn't get much better than this, and the produce doesn't get better either.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the Echo Shelter in Atascadero, California, and they have gifted us their kitchen to create this beautiful feast.
I'm Courtney Coleman of Cookwell.
Welcome to the Echo Shelter Kitchen in Atascadero, California. And we are getting all of our materials ready to build the one pot stew. There's her spices already, and the fragrance is yummy.
I'm gonna wash these carrots.
And there go the beans, already bubbling up and foaming up.
Ways to help make beans easier to digest. And when you soak them overnight, that's your first step. But that soak water has a lot of nitrogen in it. When beans, nuts, seeds, and grains begin to sprout and become alive, and you're initiating that life force, they put a lot of nitrogen out into the soak water, which would otherwise cause a lot of gas in the intestines if you cook them in that soak water. So I not only, one, replace the soak water with fresh water when I bring them to boil and let them simmer for an hour, but I also skim all the foam that comes to the top in the first 5 or 6 minutes of simmering. You'll get a thick layer of white foam at the top of your beans. Skim that off and discard it. Leave the lid off for the first 20 minutes. That allows even more nitrogen to escape. And use the combination of cumin, coriander, and ginger as an Ayurvedic spice combination that helps make beans much more digestible and reduces flatulence in the intestines. Also, fennel is known as a ground spice for reducing flatulence.
Now, leeks have to have a special trick to them.
They're sandy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rinse the outside first, take them over to the cutting board, cut them open, and put them in a colander and bring them back here to rinse them. It's just the easiest way. Okay, so I'm cutting the end off my leek. I'm cutting right down the middle. And you can see there's quite a bit of sand in there. So I'm going to lay those into our colander. And there's quite a bit of sand in here. So that's how you open it up and get to the sand to be able to rinse it. And I'm going to have to rinse this cutting board again too. Really sandy. Dirty and sandy. Opening them up. I like taking the ends off the carrots I like using my fingernails to kind of keep this guy steady so it doesn't roll around on me on the cutting board. I like to lay it down on its flat side before I decide to work with it with a knife, so I don't have a rolling hard object and a sharp knife, right? So it's just safer to get something on a flat edge and put it down on that flat side. Then I go across about 3 times, and if I do them all together, it's pretty efficient. I'll sweep toward the veggies with the cutting edge at like a 15-degree angle to preserve the edge of my blade. If I sweep food together away from the cutting edge, that's what dulls your blade. Also, a plastic cutting board will dull your knife. So how do you get your lovely green beans into good bite-sized pieces like this? You get them from farmer's market, you rinse them, you get them on your cutting board, and you line them up, stems at the same end. Cut those stems out of there, and just go across at about 1-inch pieces, or however big you want them, and boom, done. Okay, so this red cabbage is gorgeous. We got this from Mauro Perez at the farmer's market, and I'm gonna get the stem, the core, out of it by doing this. Now I can lay it on its flat side so it's more stable. And just basically get the core out of it that way. Isn't that pretty? Oh, look at that pattern. And then this side, maybe I'll do this again, and I've got a wedge there where I can just go boop, cut that core out of there. Okay. To test my beans, it's been about an hour. I'm starting to smell my beans. They smell great, and when I get them out of the hot pot, I let them cool for probably 30 seconds before I go pinch them with my finger. But when the skins start to split and they mash easily between your fingers, like I test about 3 or 4 of them that way to make sure the whole spoonful is pretty consistently soft, then I start adding my ground spices, which is yellow curry, coriander, and ginger, and I put a touch of cayenne, as you can see, because I like a little bit of heat and pungency and vitamin C. Okay, let's see if our beans are soft. Yes. Yes, they're all mashing really easily between my fingers, so that means we're ready for the ground spices. And what I'll do is I'll put the ground spices in, let it go a couple of minutes, and then put my root veggies in after these ground spices simmer in for just 2-3 minutes. Okay, we'll wait till they dissolve. Because ground spices are from dense sources, they're from a root or a seed, so they need at least 10 minutes on the cooking. Well, at least 6 or 7, but preferably like 10 minutes. Anything from a root or seed is so dense it needs that cooking time to release its aromas and soften, so it's not sandy and gritty in the cooking. So it needs time to soften and release its aroma, which has so much to do with flavor. So if you can't smell it, you can't taste. Are how you'll see your whole dry beans at the grocery store or the natural food store, and they're, hopefully not sitting around in the back of your pantry for over 6 months. They get harder and more dense and contracted and dried out over time. So you want to use fairly fresh dried beans. You want to get ones that haven't been sitting around for longer than about 6 months, or else they'll not soften with cooking, or not soften easily. And these veggies are all prepped, and look at this beautiful rainbow we have of our carrot and green bean and kale and leeks and cabbage. So pretty. This all took us about 30 minutes to chop this up, and then your black bean stew, you're gonna get 20 servings out of this, and then you can freeze 3/4 of it and eat the rest in, have the rest 5-6 servings in your fridge and take some to work with you. Easy reheat after work. I cook like twice a week. I do not cook every day. Ground spices have been simmering for about 3 minutes here. I'm starting to smell the aromas, and now I'm gonna add my root veggies. You can add your root veggies at the same time as your spices, but I like to let those spices simmer in there and start to get aromatic before I add the root veggies. And I'm gonna turn the heat, are you still filming? I'm gonna turn the heat up when I add my root veggies because the roots pull a lot of heat out of the big pot of boiling water, and basically it will slow down the cooking time unless I turn the heat up. Because they absorb a lot of the heat, I gotta turn the heat up till it comes back to boil and then take it down to simmer.
And
So
are you going to cover the pot again, or does it stay uncovered?
I don't necessarily have to. I'm now adding all my veggies at about 2 or 3 minute intervals, so covering it is just kind of one extra step, and you're not going to use that much through evaporation in that 10-minute period of time where you're adding veggies in stages.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yep.
Our kale has wilted down to about half its size. It's wet looking. Look at this boiling underneath it is happening. I'm going to actually turn the heat off at this point. And look how flavorfully colorful this is. I mean, can you smell the yellow curry through the screen? And the ginger and coriander and cayenne. Oh my gosh, and the sea salt is just perfectly salted. And now we're gonna add my lovely marjoram. That is so fragrant and perfumey. Can you smell that? I wish you could. It's in the oregano family, but again, it's like a feminine version of oregano. And you can use it liberally, whereas oregano you have to be careful with. If I were adding oregano to this size pot, I might add 1 teaspoon. Whereas marjoram, I just added like 5 or 6 tablespoons. Way different. And I'm gonna put some in a bowl so you can see what it looks like. Okay, what I didn't do, which I usually do at the very end of this dish, and it can be any kind of beans, any kind of veggies, any kind of ground spices, make it your own. But add your fat of choice at the end as well. So any kind of fat that you want to have that satisfying feeling of fat in your cooking, you could add, you know, for this size pot, maybe like a 1/4 cup of olive oil, or 3 or 4 tablespoons of butter, pasture butter or ghee, or a couple tablespoons of virgin coconut oil. Choose your fat, don't use refined vegetable oils. So now I'm gonna ladle some into this beautiful little bowl for presentation, and this is what it'll look like when you set it out. Isn't that pretty? I know a lot of the farmers, and we're gonna put together a big beautiful pot of beans with a bunch of seasonal veggies we just bought, and I hope you all have a good time with this recipe at home. Courtney Coleman is my name. I'm a nutritional therapist and personal chef and Cookwell coach. I love classes too, but my website is cookwell.org if you want some free recipes and articles I've written.